Report out from closed session. No reportable items were taken. Staff was given direction. I'll entertain a motion to approve the posted agenda, or is there any city council person who wishes to remove an item from the agenda or to change the order of an item on the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Councilman Jeff Rivero to approve the agenda, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham. Any discussion? Call for the question.
Mooneyham?
Yes.
Bergman?
Yes.
Jeff Rivero?
Yes.
Ball?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ceremonial matters. Tonight we have the honor to recognize our wonderful Parks and Recreation Department. We have one of the most outstanding Parks and Recreation departments in the state of California. And our drop-in program, they actually have, and it's been going on for over 20 years, and it's one of the major things. But we have programs that are just as outstanding throughout the year. And so with that, I'd like to have all of the Parks and Recreation people to come on up and form a little U right up here, because you're all the ones that are honored. Oh, it looks like Mr. Hodges is here, all dressed up. Good job. This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen, when you see such a wonderful group of individuals that's work in our Parks and Recreation Department. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to this young man right here. This young man every year comes down from Oregon, Klamath Falls. Now, I can understand why you came this year, because you're on fire up there. Yes, but anyway, to run our drop-in program. So we're gonna talk more about him, but this is Mr. Hodges, and Mr. Hodges, just keep coming every year. We really appreciate it.
I will do my best if you keep funding us.
Yes, and if the dear Lord will look upstairs and put our hands together and keep the positive thoughts. Yes. And the young man who operates this, let's come to the center. Yes, Mr. Barton, come right over here. Excuse us, ladies. I think this is a Schreiber here, and I think there's another one over there. Oh my gosh. A Benoit here, yes. We just can't thank you enough, Mr. Barton, for taking on this major group of individuals and doing such a fantastic job. You've been cut back, but you still are going. And that's what we can't thank you enough for keeping this program going. It's such an outstanding one that we just really feel very proud. And it's so nice to go out in the community and all over the state, and they'll all tell me, you people have a fantastic Parks and Recreation Department. Your adult softball. We come from miles to play adult softball. Or our drop-in. I think the drop-in is the one that really we have to actually have negotiations and mediations over who gets into the drop-in program. So thank you so much. Proclamation, Parks and Recreation Month, July 2014. Parks make life better. Parks and Recreation make lives and communities better now and in the future. 98% of the California households indicate that they visited a local park at least once during the past year. And parks provide an access to serenity and inspiration of nature and outdoor spaces to play and exercise. Parks preserve and protect the historic and natural and cultural resources of our community. Blas is a wonderful example, and we're celebrating their 100th anniversary of our Blas home, which is part of our Parks and Recreation group, on the 26th of September, so please remember that. Parks and Recreation Park places open spaces for programs for social connection, human development. Parks and Recreation strengthen our community image and sense of place and increase the cultural unity. Parks and Recreation provide opportunities for the direct and self-directed activities. I like those self-directed activities, yeah. Okay, California, children and adults, seniors benefit from a wide range of services. Youth programs, basketball, indoor soccer, flag football, preschool, drop-in, women's and men's sports, co-ed volleyball, senior activities. There's just about everything that we have. The City of Atwater urges all of its residents to recognize the Parks and Recreation enriches the lives of the residents and visitors, as well as adding value to our community and neighborhood. I, Carol Joan Fall, Mayor of the City of Atwater, do proclaim Parks Make Life Better. The month July 2014, Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Atwater, and in doing so, urge all citizens to use and enjoy our parks and recreational opportunities. And I think our community does that. Mr. Barton, I'd like you to introduce all of these wonderful people, and on behalf of the city and the City Council and the citizens, we just want to thank you very, very much. Outstanding job.
Thank you. Well, start over here with drop-in. This is the drop-in side. And you can introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Juwan Hodges. This is my 10th year of being a part of the drop-in program. I love it, and I keep coming back for a reason, and it's just because the kids are so fun to nurture. So pass it on to another one of our employees.
Hello, I'm JJ Sandoval, and this is my 7th year, and as long as we are here, I think it's going to be a good program, and hopefully continue to go on every year.
I am Mike Hammer. I've been there for 11 years, and that's pretty much all I got.
I'm Courtney Beckman. This is my first year, and it's been really fun. I really enjoy it.
I'm Daniela Vineyard, and this is my 6th year.
I'm Tina Benson, and this is my 2nd year, and I love drop-in.
I'm Nikki Schreiber, and this is my 3rd year, and what Tina said. Woo.
I'm Natalie Benoit, and this is my 2nd year, and I enjoy it a lot.
My name is Carolyn Schreiber, and this is my 1st year drop-in, and I can honestly say I absolutely love it.
I'm Caitlin Parr, and this is my 5th year with drop-in.
And they brought the trophy from first place for the float division at the 4th of July parade. Real quick, they donate their time. They get things donated. I think I spent $30 on a float that cost well over that, $500 according to them. But with donations and things, they go out and do it on their own, and it's the pride to win a trophy and to bring enjoyment to the children. So, good job, dropping it. And over here, we have our aquatic staff at the Atwater High School pool. Sometimes you guys know they're out in the corner. No one ever gets to see them, and here they are. This year, we do also have some volunteers, which is very exciting with the superintendent of Merced's Union High School District, Scott Scambury, got together, and these kids are from the swim team that are getting hours for community service. They're coming out in the pool and helping us with our lessons. So without further ado, Lexi.
Hello, my name's Alexis, and I've been a lifeguard for 3 years, and this is my 2nd year as a pool manager.
Hello, my name is Sadie Pena, and I'm a swim volunteer.
I'm Kristen Troxel, and I'm also a swim volunteer.
My name is Brian Ludwig, and I've been a lifeguard swim instructor for about 4 years, and it's really fun working with the little kids in the water.
My name's Andrew Navarro, and this is my first year as a lifeguard.
I'm Casey Bowers, and this is also my first year as a lifeguard.
I'm Derek Troxel. This is my 2nd year as a lifeguard. It's a great program for the kids.
My name is Jocelyn Campos, and this is my 1st year as a swim volunteer.
These guys are out in the sun every day, Monday through Saturday, protecting the lives and teaching children how to swim. They should be commended for it. Good job, guys.
It really makes you feel good when you see all these young people up here. They're our future leaders, and we just want to thank them again for taking time out of their busy schedule to come and be recognized by our citizens and our city council. And Mr. Hodges, if you would please put that in the community center with a large sign underneath it, congratulations. Or let's say you can put it in the Veteran Center, because that's where you meet, so you guys can see it each day. But congratulations. And thank you for participating in our 4th of July parade, and thank you for coming this evening. Give them another round of applause. And thank you, Mr. Barton. Outstanding job. Well done. And with that, thank you again for coming. It certainly makes you feel so good when you see such wonderful young people and how they've stepped up to help our community. So it just really makes you feel good. Next item on our agenda is comments from the public. Notice to the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to the staff or placed on a future agenda. To comment on items that are on the agenda, please wait until that item is read. And then please come to the back and stand behind Mr. Price so that I know that you wish to speak, and we will and for your, pardon me, please limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jim Price, 3467 Village Woods. Madam Mayor, City Council, and citizens of Atwater. I came to this community in 1980, member of the Air Force, retired here, made Atwater my home. For the last 14 plus years, I've been coming to the City Council meetings, and I dare to say I've probably spent more time in these council chambers than anyone else, including the council members combined, past and present. The economy has gone through some difficult times in this city, and it goes back for years. There's other problems and other issues as well. The city is begging for leadership. It's begging for economic stability and development solutions. The good and the bad have all been seen, mostly the bad. For the past 14 years plus, I've been standing on the sidelines, watching, making comments, adding my 2 cents when it was called for, and possibly when it wasn't. I stood on the sidelines because I thought to myself that this was the best place that I could be to go and effect change. Sadly, that hasn't taken place. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and through my faith in Christ and the encouragement of this community and the love of my family that I declare my candidacy for mayor of the city of Atwater. Here's a very quick snapshot of what I plan to do the very first day that I sit in the middle chair. Okay. 1, the clerk is going to read the agenda. This is a small item, but it's what they do in all the municipalities. 2nd, all citizens of this community are going to be afforded 5 minutes to speak to the city council and to the mayor. This is to give everybody the chance to afford themselves the opportunity to talk to those people that they are hiring and not the other way around. 3rd, I will be directing staff to give us a 90-day report on the financial stability of the city, and to let people know the financial condition and not have surprises once a year that is going to affect everyone. This way the council will be able to come with solutions and problem solving to make that a thing that will be solved now and not wait. We can't wait any longer. And fourth, there will be a sign-up sheet on the back where the agenda is to sign up.
We need to sum it up, Mr. Price, please.
There will be a sign-up sheet on the back here for an ad hoc committee to do civilian economic development. I came to the city as a proud Air Force member. I served the country with pride. I plan to serve with equal pride to the city of Atwater, and I pledge this to every citizen in the city of Atwater. God bless you all. Thank you.
My name's Athena Waddle, and my address is 1829 2nd Street in Atwater. And I just want to say I'm a little nervous. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Most of you already know that the mayor and the city of Atwater were notified that 397 people will be losing their jobs at the end of August due to the AT&T call center closure. We are two of the faces impacted by this. We are asking for support to save our jobs and save our community. Without these jobs, people will be unable to shop in local businesses or eat out in restaurants, which will affect our total revenue for taxes within our city and county. The closure of the city doesn't just impact the almost 400 families directly impacted, but will also devastate our whole community. Care, many doctors will not accept national health care, better known as Obamacare, which will limit. It impacts healthcare. Many doctors will not accept national health care, better known as Obamacare, which will limit the resources that folks will have. The community of Atwater Call Center is a group of hardworking and reliable people. We have stepped up and participated in toy drives every year for Christmas, always exceeding our goal. We participate in graffiti abatement and support our local United Way and March of Dimes. We also run local charities where we do canned food drives, coat drives throughout the year to donate to local charities, all through the employees of AT&T. The employees of the Atwater Call Center are a huge footprint on the housing and the retail stores, all of which will be substantially less if we do not have any employment. Not to mention that we already are living in a county where the unemployment rate is steadily over 11%, which means it will make it that much more difficult for us to recover to find suitable employment just to cover our basic needs. We will be visiting our local businesses to ask for letters of support, and we are asking for your partnership in this endeavor. We know that this is a difficult battle, but we are asking for letters of support in this fight from you all tonight, as well as any other ideas or guidance that you might be able to provide for us, because we're not going to sit down. We are fighting to keep those jobs here.
Thank you. May I make an announcement? Please check your cell phones to be sure they're turned off.
We're good to go. Eric Lee, 1199 Atwater Boulevard, Atwater, California. Madam Mayor, City Council, members of the audience. I thought it appropriate tonight that I talk about the discussions this council and the concerned citizens of Atwater have had regarding the use of solar in the city of Atwater, specifically on city wells, civic center, and city hall. These discussions have not been directed at the value of solar, but rather at the process of how solar was chosen over the more traditional means of delivering power. We have all seen and heard the presentations, and need I remind you that this has only come up to the forefront because of the proposed lease on land needed for additional panels. Otherwise, it would have slipped by unnoticed by the general public. Through all of this, one constant has always been present, and that is a reference to a solar subcommittee, or in some communications, a solar commission. My concern and the concern of others is, what exactly does this subcommittee do? What are their agendas? And where are the minutes from their meetings? I have read in the minutes and heard on tape references to this committee advising on changes that were made and placed before the Planning Commission for their approval. I have also read in the minutes where this commission provided advice and direction to this council on matters dealing with the power purchase agreement, yet nothing exists from the Solar Commission itself as to how much influence, if any, they had in its drafting. Is this contract beneficial to both parties? What was discussed? Where was it discussed? My concern is that the council has established a standing committee to deal with contract and projects that place this city at financial risk without giving the citizens the ability to voice their opinions or questions in a public meeting. They have also made it very difficult to retrieve information due to the lack of record keeping regarding their meetings and who may have attended those meetings. I find this lack of transparency unacceptable.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor, citizens. Bring a spot of positive news to tonight's City Council meeting. First Church of God, located at 2100 Fruitland Avenue, directly across from Atwater High School, has entered into an agreement with Alpha Crisis Pregnancy Center to use our parking lot for their new mobile medical center, which they'll be able to serve the community and women seeking testing and advice and information when facing or considering that they may be pregnant. So we find this, we think this is a great thing for Atwater, and just wanted to make you and the community aware of it. Thank you.
Judy Bowling, 137 Judy Drive.
I think, Judy, you're going to have to use the hand mic, please. Thanks.
Hi. I'll holler. Is it Mayor, City Council members?
Did they turn it off?
Did you turn it off? No.
Okay, okay, just talk into it then. Yeah.
Oh, better?
Yeah, I think it is.
Good.
A little
Okay.
better. Thank you.
All right. I stand here tonight wondering why and when will the City Council ever learn? We got into a little fiasco with the what was it? The sanitation plant. Wasn't that a 2-member committee? Now we're into a mess over the solar that is going to be huge. It's not a little faux pas, it's going to be big. And since when can a contractor come and stand at this podium and say on Monday night, I have to have a decision tonight because the offer is up on Friday? Did that committee, that 2-member committee, know prior to Monday night that they only had until Friday? Really? Nobody up there knew this. Why did that committee not share it with the city manager, the mayor, the other council members? Or they don't have to do that. I mean, the garbage thing was, I thought, a good sign that we needed to make some changes, but apparently it's not necessary. We're just going to continue to do business no matter what it costs the public or the city. I'd like to see the records. I would like to see the minutes. I would like to see where all these meetings were held. And I think we need to start getting to be transparent. There's not many places that allow a 2-member committee. Normally, it's an odd number, 3, 5, 7, something along that line. Speak up. Go ahead, Jeff. Say what you have to say, because I'm furious. Let me have it. Go ahead.
Please, there's no
Well,
call.
he's mumbling up
Ma'am, your 3 minutes, please. You continue
it's over
on.
and done. Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
do you get the gist that I am not happy? I think it is wrong. I
get
think
that.
we need to stop this solar thing. I don't think that whether we have to take the legal channel or however, we need to stop it. We need to look into it further. We don't need another garbage problem dumped in our laps.
Thank you. Is there any other persons who wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and move on to our next item on the agenda. That's a presentation from the Merced Irrigation District. Mr. Jensen.
Good evening. Do I need to use the other one?
You have to use the other one, sir.
Okay, excuse me. Good evening, Mayor Fall and members of the council. I am Mike Jensen with the Merced Irrigation District, and I was asked to be here tonight just to give you an overview of MID and our electric services. So that's why I'm here, and I appreciate the opportunity. And we've been providing electricity to the Castle Commerce Center and the Applegate Shopping Center, as well as the local high schools for some time. So again, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. As I think most of you know, and the name implies, Merced Irrigation District was established to provide water. That was done in the early 1900s. And we also serve as a public utility, and we've been doing that for a couple of decades. We're currently serving approximately 8,000 residential and business customers, and a host of public entities, which includes city and school facilities. And again, as I mentioned, we provide electricity to a couple of your high schools here and the Castle Commerce Center. And I was also asked to discuss some of the benefits of public power. Because a utility such as MID or another public owned utility does not have a base of investors or a profit margin, we're generally able to provide electricity at a little bit lower rate than an investor-owned utility. We have a great track record in terms of reliability, and among the other benefits of a public utility is we're able to offer the ability to create economic development. And I say that because we have lower electric rates, and that's one of the things that I'm sure many of you know outside businesses that are looking to relocate look to is the electric rates. And I'm sure you know that from Castle. We also have a 5-member elected board, and that results in local decisions being made in the community. And that is essentially it. Our commercial rate is about 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That's an average. Our industrial rate is about 8 cents per hour. And if there is anything that I can answer for you, I would be happy to, but I think that's about the basic information I'm able to provide you this evening.
Any questions of Mr. Jensen? Mr. Jeff Rivero, Councilman Jeff Rivero.
A question for you out first. On your MD4 municipal and nonprofit small demand general services, you're listed as having a energy charge of 9.09 cents in the winter, and in the summertime 0.11, and it also has a demand charge of per kilowatt $4 and $7 respectively in the winter and the summer. Is that correct?
If you got that from our website, I would assume that's correct. I am not a rates expert. I was asked to come and discuss some of the generalities of our electric utility.
I'm also going to ask, you sent in or Chris sent in a City of Atwater usage kilowatt, and it's listed as 0.173, 0.159, 0.122 at the Community Center, City Hall, Well Commerce, Well 13, and at the bottom it has no monthly demand data submitted. So,
What is your question, sir?
what is the no monthly demand data submitted? What would the demand data be?
You're asking a very specific question, and that's something that I would direct back to our staff, probably between your staff. Without looking at it, that certainly is not my expertise, so that would have to be worked out between somebody from our staff and whatever facilities you might be looking at.
And on your solar, PG&E has basically when you produce energy with the solar, there's no demand charge. Does MID offer the same program?
Again, I'm going to have to give you the same response. If you have specific questions, my suggestion would be that the city work with MID staff. We would be happy, I'm sure, to give you any information that you would need to have, or that you would like to have.
Maybe we can have it on our next agenda to have the people who actually know how to deal with the rates to come, so we can kind of.
Ma'am, the way that is normally handled is our staff would work with your staff on a project, and then that, I think, would, the way that's typically dealt with is the project would come actually to the board, or in this case to the city, and that would be a decision for you to make on the project. But I would suggest that might be the best route to go. That's how things are normally done.
Because, according to what our last thing when we were comparing the MID quote with the Con Energy quote, the MID quote was lower than what Con Energy was, and that's why we're asking these questions, is to get some type of verification of the quote that your company gave. So basically the quote that your company gave, you'd be able to stand on that quote, that would be what it would be charged to the city of Atwater.
If you have some kind of a proposal from MID, I would assume that it's complete, and if you have questions, again, I would maybe suggest that your staff contact the MID staff that's worked on that to try and address those questions for you.
City Manager, could you kind of comment on that one, please?
Absolutely. We do have a couple quotes here. The council was given the Schedule MD4 at the last council meeting, and it refers to 9 cents per hour kilowatt in winter and 15 cents, and then it also gives you a demand charge. So let me go ahead and get a hold of Mr. Catone, who I've been working with at MID to confirm some of these rates. We also currently got some new rates that Mr. Catone sent me this morning, and they're up to 17 cents for the community center, 15 cents for the city hall, and 12 cents for the well on Commerce. So let me do some confirmation with Mr. Catone, and I'll get back with the council.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Mr. Mooneyham, do you have any questions? Councilman Bergman? Councilman Jeff Rivero?
Yes, it was August 16th of 2011 that the city of Atwater voted on and put out a request for qualifications perspective for PV projected developers. In that RFQ/P, the city intends to pursue the development of solar facility approximately 1 megawatt DC in size at the water treatment plant. Although a significant area existed, larger development, which could also be considered. See Section A, a usable area and additional information. The city is also considering the construction of additional PV systems at other city-owned facilities such as City Hall and the Community Center, with financing also to be provided via PPA and solar lease. Site information and additional solar locations will be provided, in which case these locations would be approved for development.
Mr. Councilman Jeff Rivero, I think we're getting off of
Actually,
but so,
just for a
because this
second.
man just got done telling us that he cannot answer those questions, and now
Yes.
you're asking a question
No, I'm not
about the,
asking.
sir, you're asking a question about the proposal for the wastewater treatment plant and the first proposal that we did, and that's not part of our questions that we're talking about tonight. So
Yeah, I
if
wasn't-
you have comments on that, I
Yes.
think we would hold on that.
Well, I
But I
wasn't
think
gonna-
this young man has already told us, and I think the city manager has already said that he would look into the questions on the rate, and so I think that's basically where we need to be at.
Yeah,
And
I
so
wasn't
you can
gonna
ask
talk
him
about-
one more question, but I don't think that's fair to this young man that's making a presentation to be asking him questions on items that he has not any familiarity with. And I will leave you at that, and I think it would
Send
be.
them back with some information and
Well,
also
I'd
the
leave
city
it-
manager.
Well,
on the-
sir, let us stop now. The city manager knows exactly what he's going to do, and this young man has already told us that he cannot do it, so I think that's what we're cut off. And thank you very much for coming. We appreciate the fact that you're here, and thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a good night. Thank you.
I would suggest that if Councilmember Rivero has additional information that he would like to have clarification on, that he could work with the city manager to present that information to MID so that you could get your questions answered. Is that okay? I think that would probably be the most effective way.
I think what I was going to suggest is that we have well 6, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 that were on the PPA list that we sent out. So I was going to suggest to the city manager that if he picks out one of these wells, that he could talk to MID about possibly switching over one of these wells to MID. But also, we would have to take into consideration when doing so, and I've spoke with PG&E, and Randy's here, and he was the person that I asked questions to. I would hope that the city manager and council know that when you do that with MID, it is permissible. But what happens sometimes is you get into some issues. The Sacramento Municipal Utility District provides electricity to Sacramento County, California, and other sections of the Sacramento area. It's called SMUD. SMUD competed with PG&E over some territory. When that happened, some very bad things followed suit.
I think, sir, that we're getting off of the area again. If you wish to talk to and sit down with the city manager, and that is your selection of selecting some wells to possibly go with MID, then we can enter into that negotiation. But I think we're adding a lot of information here that is kind of messing things up and getting it all mixed up. So let us
What I'm
just.
trying to be very clear on is that we're not negotiating the other situations, because then that could lead to a.
Absolutely.
That's fine, but let me
fine.
just say that
So I was
right here,
suggesting-
this
sir.
is just a presentation that
Right.
MID was asked to give.
Right.
And so if you have questions about his presentation, then I think that would be appropriate. But if you're talking about some other potential
Yes.
avenues or projects with MID, I think the most appropriate way to do that is to work with the city manager about your suggestions, which I'm sure he will be happy to sit down with you and discuss and present on the city's behalf.
And we can bring it back.
Thank you.
At the next meeting. So with that, if there's no further questions of Mr. Jensen, we just want to thank you very much for coming, and thank you for taking your time.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having.
it. Consent calendar. The background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar. and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item if discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Council persons, do you have any items that you wish to have pulled for separate action? No items that you wish to have pulled? I have an item that I wish to have pulled, and that is item number item number 5, approving the interfund loan from the sewer enterprise fund to the water enterprise fund. And that I would like to have pulled. And that's item number 5. Is there any council persons, do you have any other items you wish to pull? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion then to approve items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
6, 7.
6 and 7.
And
6, 7.
I missed one. My apologies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bergman. Councilman Jeff Rivero.
Yes, I was trying to buzz in prior. I was going to ask to have number 6 pulled.
My apologies.
No problem.
Okay, we'll pull also number 6. So we're pulling 5 and we're pulling 6. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay, Mr. Bergman, will that work with your?
Works for me.
Works for you? Okay, do I have a second on that one? Second? I'll second it. Okay. Any further discussion? Call for the question.
Bergman?
Yes.
Jeff Rivero?
Yes.
Mooneyham?
No.
Paul?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item number 5. And Mr. Zanoni? This is a real important one, and this is part of our trying to fix the different things that have happened along the way so that we can have closer monitoring of our loans and the movement of monies from one fund to the other. Mr. Zanoni is our financial specialist.
Okay. Madam Mayor, members of the council, back in February, the City Council approved a policy for interfund loans and advances, and what that policy included was a provision that any interfund loans between funds of the city would be approved in advance by the City Council, and those would be money that was moved between funds that was going to extend beyond 90 days after the end of the fiscal year. So that's your policy going forward. It's a very prudent fiscal policy, and it's one that staff will adhere to going forward. Over the past several years, as the city grappled with the economic downturn and budget issues, just in the course of doing business, there were several funds that went into a negative cash position. You've discussed this several times when you've reviewed the audits, and we talked about it earlier this month during the budget. So what you have before you this evening are 3 resolutions. These resolutions are not actually moving money between funds. It's just documenting cash that has been transferred to cover shortfalls. There are 3 resolutions. One is documenting a loan from the sewer fund to the water enterprise fund. Second is a loan from the sewer fund to the sanitation enterprise fund, and the third is from the sewer fund to the general fund. For each of those loans, included in your packet and included in the resolution is a amortization schedule for a payback. For all 3 of those loans, we have proposed that the payback begin in fiscal year 15-16, I'm sorry. So that 6-7 months from now, when you start preparing the 15-16 budget, one of the items that will be incorporated into that budget will be funding for the beginning of repayment of these loans. We're proposing that the Water Enterprise Fund repay the sewer fund over a period of 10 years, that the sanitation fund repay the sewer fund over a period of 7 years, and the general fund repay the sewer fund over a period of 15 years. And that's right now just those schedules seemed appropriate. Ideally, these funds will be able to repay those loans sooner. And so every year, you will review the status of these loans, and hopefully we'll be in a position where they'll be able to repay sooner than these schedules. But what this does is it documents the loans and provides a set period for paying them back to the sewer fund with interest, so that the sewer fund will be made whole.
Do we have any questions of City Manager Petro?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Bill, in essence, we, for the past 5 or 6 years, have been removing money out of the sewer fund, which was the only restricted fund that had any money, to augment all the other funds, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what do you figure is the total dollar amount that we've taken out of the sewer fund to augment general fund, water, and sanitation?
It is $8.6 million.
Okay. And that's been going on for the last 5 to 7 years?
That's correct. Especially as the water fund and the sanitation fund were operating in a deficit, those deficits were covered by cash.
Through the sewer fund?
From the sewer fund, yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I was going to ask on the water treatment plant, is there a COLA that happens every year? For the
water, for the sewer rates?
For the sewer
That's
rates?
correct, yes.
And what are those numbers? Do you know offhand?
I believe the rates for July 1st was an increase of 2.1%.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions of Mr. Zanoni? Mr. Mooneyham? Mr. Bergman? Okay. None? Okay.
No,
fine.
my light's off.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we want to thank Mr. Zanoni for all of his work in getting that back together again. And this is another step that we've taken towards trying to get these. So if somebody loans money to someone, then we know where the money went to and when the money is supposed to come back. If the loan is going to take longer than 90 days, then it has to come before the council for approval. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. And that goes for any fund, like general fund. If we borrow from the general fund, then we have to approve of if it's going to take longer than 90 days to pay it back.
Any fund in the city.
Any fund in the city. So we keep track of all of the money that is moved from one place to the other.
Yes.
You'd be surprised how sometimes the state of California goes along with some of this moving of funds, and there is no way of following the movement of funds. So we have actually taken the step and to make it so we follow all of our funds, whether the state says we have to or not. Thank you. Okay, we'll move, entertain a motion to approve item number 5.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bergman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Jeff Rivero. Any further? Oh.
You don't yell from the gallery.
Yeah, we just, if you have a question, you know where the.
The question's already been called.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Okay, if you wish to come up and speak, you may do so. Okay, come on up.
Linda Dash, Atwater. My question, it's simple. This transfer of funds on paper is to cover what was taken out of the sewer fund in the past, is that correct? It's like-
Wait a minute, let me.
Is that correct?
Mr. Zanoni, you want to come back up and answer these questions, because I'm saying,
this man,
I'm
right?
saying,
He's
I'm saying
awesome.
yes, and I'm not sure.
That's what my question is. This is not something that you'll be doing in the future. This is something, it's a CYA, actually. I mean, you're just, not, I shouldn't say that, but this is something that you are, it's on paperwork.
We're documenting loans that were.
What
money that
happened
was
in the
moved
past? Okay, all righty. By
And-
former council, is that
And the
correct?
thing- Yes, and the thing is when it's to also prevent moving of funds without proper documentation and approval.
God bless you. I'm glad finally. Thank you.
Mr. Mooneyham, did you have a question?
You know, I just a comment, and this is to Mrs. Dash's question. This is not new information by any stretch of the imagination. This is something that, as we started to go down the rabbit hole 2 years ago, and we tried to find out just how bad things were, what the state of the state was, we started to uncover such things as this. Inter-fund transfers with no documentation. Well, how much did we actually borrow from the sewer fund? Nobody knew. There was no documentation. Nothing had memorialized that transfer. So this was a very long process by Mr. Zanoni, very diligent process to go and uncover the rocks, find out where everything went, make a plan to pay it back, and to get things headed down the right path again.
Mr. Lee.
Yes, is this something that's going to be done in the future as well? Will we be borrowing money from one fund to put into another fund, even though it's documented? Or is this something we're doing because of what happened in the past, and once it's done, it's done?
No. Mr. Zanoni, you want to answer that one, please?
The enterprise funds, the water fund, the sanitation fund, the rates for those funds currently cover expenditures, so those funds shouldn't borrow. In fact, all of the funds right now are generating sufficient revenue to cover. Where this could become an issue in the future would be for grants. If there was a grant, just a timing for reimbursement that took a while, but on a normal course of business, this should not happen again in the future.
But let me ask you this, Mr. Zanoni, just to be sure. This is for ongoing loans also. So we're trying to make sure that all loans and all movement of funds is documented.
That's correct.
And it's a part of the ordinance or a resolution?
Part of the city council policy.
Policy.
That any movement of cash between
Right.
funds that goes 90 days beyond at the end
Right.
of a fiscal year will be approved
Right.
by the city council.
That's the way I understood it. Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Call for the question.
Jeff Rivero?
Yes.
Bergman?
Yes.
Mooneyham?
Yes.
Fall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we have item number 6. That is congestion management and air quality project, UHAC sidewalk infill. Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The item tonight for your consideration basically allows us to start the paperwork to authorize the expenditure of funds for the project design and engineering. We have within your approved budget the funding for this component of the project, including the small local commitment that we have to have of just a little bit over $1,000. And so tonight's the first step in the process. Items 6 and 7 are basically under the same program. Item 6 is for the Buhack Road project. That's the sidewalks on the east side of the road. And then 7 is for improvements to Juniper Avenue between Schaefer Road, approximately not quite that far, but all the way to Buhack Road as well. And then you also have a third one, which is not here tonight, which still has some additional work to do, and that's for a larger traffic synchronization project for signals and other work as well. And so these are kind of procedural processes, but this is to allow you to begin expending funds and have it be reimbursed by the state.
Mr. Jeff Rivero, you had some questions on this one?
I was just hoping that you would be able to explain it to everybody, and then also, I should have also pulled off 7, but the bike lane is, I know a few years back we had talked to MID about getting together on a bike path that would take along their ditch bank and go all the way to Atwater High School. Is there any chance that some of that funding could help out with that bike path or no?
Well, for what we have right here, no, but we could definitely look into that for future ones. That would be something we could definitely work on.
I know we have some money in our Parks and Recreation Fund, so it'd be nice to be able to try to team up with MID for a bike path that would go through the city of Atwater. Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. McBride? Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham?
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, sorry to call you back up there again. Could you give us a little more insight as far as the sidewalks on the east side of Buhack? I'm assuming it's between the canal and Juniper, is that right, or
no, it's
is it off?
It's from Avenue 1 to Buhack Colony High School.
Okay. So no hope of getting that almond tree removed and making Buhack 2 lanes the whole way?
This is just for that one piece of the sidewalk, and also want to just kind of make the council aware and the public too that we're not going to be recessing back Avenue 1 for the full right-of-way. It's to improve the corner as it exists today. There's still additional right-of-way that's needed for the north side of Avenue 1 to make it the full width. And so we're not addressing that. We're just making what we have there today from that signal and the crosswalk safe to the high school.
Thank you, Scott.
This is a wonderful addition and a surprise, because I've had numerous people concerned about the fact that we have no sidewalk on that side of the street that goes from Avenue 1, which we have a major housing development, to the high school. And so this is a fantastic project. So with that, if there's no more questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve item number 6. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 6.
Okay, moved by Councilman Jeff Rivero. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bergman. Any further questions from the audience on this one? Since I missed you before. Okay, seeing none, we will call for the question.
Bergman,
Yes.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item, next one is a city attorney report. Deputy City Attorney Henderson, pardon me.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but I have to read this report because it was prepared by Tom. I'm only kind of involved on the edges of this project. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is what he has had to say. At the June 23rd meeting, the City Council gave tentative approval for the amendment to the power purchase agreement and the proposed lease of the Casey property, subject to our office negotiating some necessary revisions to that lease. Later that week, at a special meeting, the City Council gave the City Attorney further direction on the Casey lease and voted to reconsider the entire transaction based on new information regarding other power suppliers and competing rates. The Council is currently scheduled to reconsider this matter at its next meeting on July 28th. Connergy is prepared to move forward on installation of the solar facility on either the Well 15 site alone or on the Well 15 site and the Casey property. Our office has worked with Connergy and their legal counsel, and we have agreed to remove language from the power purchase agreement that would prevent the city from terminating the Casey lease without Connergy consent. And this is a positive step. The council does need to keep in mind, however, that if Well 15 can no longer be used during the 20-year term of this project, the city would still be responsible for purchasing power generated from the facility or for termination fees if the solar facility is removed from the property. The same would be true, of course, with any solar installation on the Casey property. In other words, while the city could mitigate its losses as it relates to rent if Well 15 went down, they could mitigate losses with respect to rent on the Casey property by canceling the Casey lease. We would still have significant financial exposure to Connergy for their facilities on the Casey property. Connergy points out that the city could, under the current law as it exists today, identify another project and basically wheel that power to another site. However, the economic benefit is reduced, and there is no guarantee that wheeling of power in this manner will remain a viable and legally permissible option in the future. This is one of the policy questions that the council will consider when this proposed transaction is reconsidered at a subsequent meeting. The purpose of this report tonight is just to give everyone an update on where we are with the negotiations and some of the things that you're going to have to be considering when this is brought back to you for action. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Jeff
Yes, I was
Rivera?
just going to make a statement and make sure that it's correct, that if the well went down, the next best option would be to drill another well on site. If that was unable to do, the city could purchase anywhere between 3 and 4 acres in another spot to drop a well and move the solar panels from that position to another position where there is a water well site, correct?
You know, that question requires consideration from a number of different people. I can only answer legally whether that's an option. That could be an option based on, depending on what we put in the contract. But drilling a well and dropping it at different places requires consideration of community development and those departments who would have to determine if there is a viable location, depending, you know, is the water quality good, and
Yeah,
how much it's going to
I
cost
wasn't
and all
talking
that.
about so much the water, but the city would have to come up with water somewhere. And that
I
would-
don't know that. That's something for the people who run the water system to let you know if you would need an alternate site. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
I think that tonight the city attorney, Mr. Terpstra, sent this item to us, bringing us up to date on that. And basically, we are going to have full discussion of this item on the next meeting, which would be on the 28th. Is that correct, Assistant City, Deputy, whatever?
It's fine. Yes.
Deputy City Attorney.
At this point, this item is scheduled to come back to the
Right.
council for consideration and action at the next
Right.
meeting,
Next
July
meeting, so-
28th.
And we can give it full discussion at that time. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll take a short break. Come back to item number 8.
without medical, so I've given 17 years. I'm going to go get Yes. Wow. I was there since the day they opened. Great, thank you very much.
Don't tell me you want to miss out on this free.
We'll call the meeting back to order at 7:13. Our next item on the agenda is a verbal review of the fire department activities and projects for the month of June 14th. Oh, we have Chief Corporate here tonight.
A rare treat that I would
Yes,
be able to
a
be here.
rare
Madam
treat
Mayor
that it
and City
is.
Council, thank you so much. Chief Pimentel gets to be on a little vacation, so I told him I would love to be able to come here and give you the monthly report. So this is the report for June. And this last month, you had your fire department respond to 2 structure fires, 11 other fires, 13 vehicle accidents, 223 medical aids, only 1 hazmat call, which is good, 22 public assistance or service calls. There were also 65 weed abatement properties that were looked at. 46 is the number of properties that were abated by contractors. And then they did their usual projects of hydrant inspections and hose testing and business inspections and training. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions of Chief Corporate? Just keep, Councilman Jeff Rivero.
Just wanted to make a statement, and I know it has nothing to do with the police department or the fire department, but on the 4th of July, I had 5 places to be at one time. I ended up going to, I believe, 3 of them. But coming home from one of the events was where the B-52s used to land, and I think that was Fox Road. And the kids saw the fireworks going on, so I pulled over off the side of the road. There was fireworks, and it seemed like over a large area of space. And I thought to myself, wow, this is weird how the fireworks people are doing this. So a few minutes went by, and finally the kids were a little restless, so I said, you know what, the grand finale is not going to happen so in our time. So we took off. And as we were driving down Santa Fe, the real fireworks started going off. We had seen fireworks going on in the city of Atwater and on the outskirts of it that made it almost as big as what the fireworks show was going on at the base. And that's the worst I've ever seen the city of Atwater with illegal fireworks. So I'm hoping that next year that somehow that the police department and fire department can get together. It still went on for 6 or 7 days around my area, and I believe it was that coming from the pocket of the county next to it, to where I live. But it was just horrible. I don't know if anyone else saw how much illegal fireworks was happening, but it's almost like it's a field day out there.
I can tell you that for the fact that we're also in the county, we do get reports of those, and whenever we're notified of those in either the city or in the county, we respond to them as we're called. But I think that probably in the exact same method by which you saw them, you thought, oh, here's the display, and you're not thinking that there's anything wrong with that, because the same thing was happening around Merced. And I go, wow, I didn't realize we were doing a display over here, because I'm in the city, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no displays over there. So I can tell you that is pretty common. It's unfortunate. There is CAL FIRE participates in an extradition in the southern area because they do believe that a lot of the illegal fireworks come through and get to Northern California or Central California through the 99 or I-5 corridor. They try to stop them in the southern area of the state. We have a huge contingent of law enforcement officers that try to stop them there, but unfortunately they do get to our location as well. So anytime folks see that, if they can notify the fire department, we will respond with law enforcement to see what we can do to mitigate the situation.
And I know you guys on 4th of July and the police department, because our event, we have all of our police there with cadets, so we're stretched out manpower-wise.
Yes.
And I understand that, but hopefully next year there can be some type of plan together to stop, because it was going on not just the 4th of July, but a few days before and a few days after. So if there's any way, maybe the days before and after, we could also try to concentrate, because it's probably the same people doing it.
Yeah, we do have a group that our VIPs look for that the few days prior to. 4th of July, and we also get complaints a couple of days after the 4th of July because, you know, they didn't get all their fireworks shot off on the 4th. So unfortunately, we do have a group that works on that, but we still, like you said, you can imagine how thin we're stretched in order to participate in the actual legal events. To then also get folks out there for the illegal is pretty difficult.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you bet.
Councilman Bergman, followed
Thank you.
by City Manager Petro.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment, as far as this year, I'm unaware, but I know since 2008, Fire and PD has worked together and had a task force that has toured the city and gone after illegal fireworks, and we have actually caught many. So that does happen, and it goes on. But to give you an idea of how some of these little communities work, we went into one area, they actually had lookouts on corners. And the minute they saw somebody on foot or a vehicle, they were yelling down the street and letting everybody know that the fire department or PD was on their way. So they've got pretty, you know, a pretty good resource there as far as they're able to get away without getting caught. But that has happened for 6 years, and there has been several citations, and it's quite pricey. So
it is very
happen.
pricey. I wish that more people, we could catch more, but that's exactly what Councilmember Bergman was saying, is they have their lookouts and they get the word down, and then by the time the fire department or police department get there, there's nothing to be found there. They've scattered to the wind. So,
City Manager Petro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Bergman. I was just going to bring that up. Every year, we do partner up with the fire department, their law enforcement division, as we did this year. On Monday, when I got back after vacation, I checked the logs, and we got very limited calls on illegal fireworks this year. It was unbelievable to me that usually we inundated dispatch on the 4th of July. This year, we got very limited calls. So if they were going in the area, if somebody calls, we'll try to get over there, but we had very limited phone calls this year.
Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I know each year in the newspaper sometimes prints how many people are caught in citations, and I know each year you guys are out there and you do a wonderful job. It just seemed like this year there was somebody opened up the floodgates. It was something off of the hook. So if there's anything maybe we could work on together or add, I would be in support of it. But I appreciate the jobs both of you guys have done.
Thank you.
It sounds like we're already working together, so we just have to work a little bit harder and hope that we can get more input from the city, from the public, to give us a call if they see or hear, and it includes people on the outside of the city limits as well as the inside, so we can, you know, respond to those areas. So that is very important. I have a question, and naturally the chief knows what it is, but I'd like to have, if she could, give me an update on Avenue 2 along the La Casas borderline with the county, and the dried grass is still there, and the dead trees are still there, and I just wonder...
Mayor, they have been noticed. We have to give them their legal time frame to abate the property, and the county does not go in there and abate properties. So at that point, then we start down the process of...
Could you find out for me about how long the abated notice is going to be, so I can keep my fingers crossed that nobody sets a fire in that area till we can get those people out there to take down the trees and the high grass?
The grass is all that can be abated. We can't ask them to remove trees unless
they're dead.
The grass
they're
is
a
all
fire
that we
hazard.
The grass is all that we can ask people to abate.
I'm going to have to get my chainsaw out there. Okay, whatever you say.
Mayor, I certainly
scares
hope
me to death. We already had one bad fire out there last year.
That's why those trees are dead. So,
and that bothers me that we're looking for another one. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Item number 9, verbal review of the police department activities projects for the month of June 2014. Lieutenant Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for keeping your chainsaw in, Madam Mayor.
Believe it.
In June of 2014,
don't think
I know, trust me, I've seen it a few times. We had a robbery on June 30th, 2014, where Bobby's Liquor Store on East Bellevue was robbed by a strong-arm robbery. The suspect ran towards Veterans Park. Officers arrived on scene very quickly and chased the subject into the bathroom area over there. At gunpoint, was taken down as he was flushing the money down the toilet. He was, he was taken into custody without further incident. On June 23rd, we had a vehicle that was evading police officer, actually a motorcycle, that fled the scene onto Buhack. The officer chased the subject. He was traveling approximately over 100 miles an hour. He ended up crashing into a bus, and he was pronounced dead on the scene. And that investigation was taken over by the CHP on that one. Statistics, we had calls for service for the month, 2,126. We had 103 bookings, 6 DUI arrests, 8 stolen vehicles with 2 still outstanding, 34 traffic collisions, 0 homicides, 2 reported rapes, 3 molestation investigations, 3 robberies, 60 thefts, 161 citations, and 9 obstructing officers reports.
Any questions of Lieutenant Joseph? Thank you very much. Oops, pardon me, Councilman Jeff Rivero.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to thank, I know one of your CSOs was running it, but ATAC and a few other for Parks and Recreation people were out there, but I went to the show out at Fall Park.
Oh.
And I think it was Smurfs 2. But if you could tell everybody, including the police department and the kids that were at ATAC, and I believe that's through Atwater Police Activities League. Yes. Can you let everybody know that was a wonderful event? There was probably a couple hundred people out there. I didn't count heads, but it was a huge crowd, and they did an excellent job. So if you don't mind telling them, thank you for me.
No problem, sir. I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Item number 10, verbal review of the Public Works Department, activities and projects. Interim Public Works Director Ferretta.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, as was the case last month, I will not verbally inundate you with all the activities of the Public Works Department for the month of June, but if you happen to have any specific questions regarding the contents of the report that you have in your packet or any other Public Works related items, I'd be happy to answer them for you at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ferretta, just the same question about that nice little dip sign on Schaefer, how close we are to maybe getting that resolved.
We'll probably have to do some engineering on it, but it is in the CIP to have that resolved, so we're going to start working on the projects in that CIP budget as soon as possible. I don't have an exact date yet. It's still we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do the engineering and then move forward with it from there.
Any other questions? I have a question on the corner of Glen and High. Glen and High. That street, the corner there along High Street, there's been no sidewalk, and there's been no sidewalk for, I think, about 8 or 9 years. And we've asked, and there's no sidewalk that ever appears there. So would you mind doing some research, Mr. Ferretta, because I know you can find out why there is no sidewalk there. Nice set of weeds, no sidewalk. So, and there must be a reason, and I'm sure there is, and I'm sure that we can't pay for it now, but it would be nice if we could at least get it on our list that Glen and Hyde would be nice for those people to have a sidewalk next to their
I will take a look and investigate that. There is some money set aside in this capital improvement budget for this fiscal year to do sidewalk improvements in town. So that could be one of the areas that we do choose to take care of.
And we have the gutters on Laurel and Second. Laurel and Second.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to redo, because we had they had gutters there, that we helpfully took them out. Okay, anyone else who has questions? We really appreciate, Mr. Ferretta, you're breaking this down, because we can see exactly what's going on, and we truly appreciate it. And pardon me, City Manager, for...
Thank you. Patrick, I know that you were going to start crack filling on Manzanita and Beach in that area this morning, but the machine broke down. Can you give me a timeline? When do you think we can start that project?
Well, we're going to do some additional work on the machine, the crack filling machine, tomorrow morning. The staff person that worked on it last week was unable to be at work today, so we're going to tackle that first thing in the morning. If all works out with it, we'll likely be able to start crack filling tomorrow morning. If not, there may be further work to do on the machine, so we'll have to defer that until the machine gets fixed for good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Ferretta? Thank you. Job well done. Next item is item number 11, and that's Mr. Ferretta and Mr. Shaw. And Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilman. There's really no way to give you an exact figure on what it costs to pump 5,000 gallons of water. We have, I can give you what the PG&E cost is, and that's about it. But with overhead and maintenance, there's just no way to tell you how much 5,000 gallons of water is to pump.
Pardon me, Mr. Shaw, I should have read that so for the audience. My apologies. Councilman Jeff Rivero asked to see if we a report on the total cost of providing $5,000 worth of $5,000 gallons of water to a city resident per month, each month, what the cost was. Is that correct, Mr. And Mr. Shaw took on the task.
Yes, what it comes down to is when we did the rate study for the water rates, they took into account all that, and that's what they came up with was the flat rate of what everybody needs to be charged, no matter how much water they use over 20,000 or 25,000 gallons of water. That's just a flat rate to run the water system.
So
Go ahead, Mr.
there's no way of breaking it down with, because personally it doesn't make sense to me. The state steps in, basically tells people only water 2 days a week. We're cutting people back, but we're still charging them the same amount. Where are these people supposed to use their water? And I thank everybody for conserving, and that's the greatest thing in the world. You ask people to do something, and they do it. But there's no carrot in front of the stick. It's just a stick, and it's hitting in the back of the people's backside. And a carrot, at least, there's a reason why you're saving 5,000 gallons, and especially when we have, and I've always said this, but we have so many senior citizens in our community. They're barely making it by, and they don't use that whole 25. And we're asking them to conserve, and they're probably dropping down to 15, maybe even 10,000 gallons. And it just doesn't make sense that we ask people to conserve, but we're still going to, and not just us, but the whole state. We're asking people to conserve, and we're still going to keep charging you the same, but we don't want you to use the water that we're charging you for. So there should be some type of carrot with the stick in front of the stick, saying that if you can conserve 5,000 gallons, it'll drop your bill. Even though if it's $1 or $2, it's still an incentive. And if you can drop it down to 15,000, another incentive, because it helps us out in two ways. A, we don't have to pump it out of the ground, so we have more water in the ground, and it doesn't cost us the electricity costs or the treatment costs for it, or to send it down the line. And then two, it doesn't have to be treated out of the water treatment. For the water that does go in, some of it goes into the front yard, and I think I've seen estimates between 40 and 60. But that's 40 and 60% of the water going down to the water treatment plant too. So I just think the city should come up with some type of incentive program, and I'm not asking to break the city, but even if there was $1 or $2 or something savings on the per gallons, so that there's at least an incentive for people to stop using it. And if it's not costing us to treat it, and it's not costing us to pump it and send it out to the water treatment plant, then we're saving too.
Excuse me, but Councilman Jeff Rivero, we can't do that until everyone is on meters. That way, we know what each person is saving and each person is using. But until we're all on meters, I don't see how we can estimate what a person is using or not using just because they water on their certain dates. But that's my concern. I don't see how you're going to come up with saving, just like myself. I don't have a meter. How are you going to determine whether I use 5,000 gallons or not? And when I follow the thing. Yes, Mr. Jeff Rivera.
That's the whole yin and the yang of it. If you don't have a meter, you can use 30, 40, 50, 60, 100,000 gallons in a month. There's no meter, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you have a meter, that you have to penny pinch, you have to make sure you don't go above and beyond it. So there's a yin and a yang for both.
I agree.
For the people that don't have that don't have a meter, they're not getting metered anyway. So, but for the people that are metered, there should be an incentive to save the water.
Yeah, but it does, till everybody has the same, I think that's why we went with this rate study and all and had it done. But I don't think we can do it individually till everybody is done. But Mr. Shaw, you might have a different, because you're the expert.
Well, it was set at 25,000 gallons. Well, we had at 20,000, and it went up to 25,000 gallons. And that's what they went off of, is how many gallons you're pumping. But you still have to understand the overhead of the water system itself, the maintenance. It's just not how much water you're pumping. It's maintaining the whole system. And right now, we might be in trouble where we're going to have to start dropping the pumps deeper, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So it all boils down to, this is what the rate study said we have to charge.
And that's one of the things I'm looking for, is if we have an incentive, then you're going to save your water, so you won't have to drop them down further, or it'll be further down the road when you do have to do it. So I'm just trying to be proactive.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Shaw? Thank you. Thank you for giving it a shot. I couldn't see how you were going to do it in the first place, since we're not all on meters, but thank you.
Okay.
Linda, did you have a question?
I just have a suggestion. It might not be worth beans, but Linda Dash, Atwater. It costs, what, approximately $800 to install a water meter? Give or take, I don't know.
Oh.
800,000?
For water meter?
Yeah.
By 2025, everybody should be on the water meters.
Okay.
Active water meters.
Suggestion, to find out how much it costs. Could we do a trial? Take a family of one person, one single person living in a home, maybe a family of 3, get their ages, family of 5, and then hook them up to a water meter and see what it would cost to run with those different families. I don't know, because they would have sprinklers, they would have showers, cooking, so on and so forth. You might kind of get an idea that way, and I don't think the city would be out a whole heck of a lot of money. And when you're finished with your survey, then the water meter's already installed for 2025. I don't know, just an idea.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I understand where Councilman Rivero's coming from on that, but the problem is that not everybody's metered. But what's interesting is I'm metered at my office and not at home. The price I pay for water is pretty much the same each month at both places, even though one's a residence and the other is an office with one sink and one toilet. I suppose maybe the gals in my office use that quite a bit. I'm not really aware of that, but they are gone sometimes. I think what you'd have to do is establish, whenever you put somebody on a meter, isn't there a minimum? In other words, you're going to charge them a minimum amount each month for a certain deliverance, and then anything over that they're going to start paying, and they're going to pay more on their bill. And I feel that's equitable. You use more water, you pay for more water. So I really don't see how you would set up a system where you would rebate back or lower someone's bill without having a full-time person or persons managing that. I mean, this just opens up all kinds of a big can of worms. I would like to see maybe the state and maybe somebody go to the state or get them involved in a program where they can kick back money to individuals, senior citizens or whatever, for using less water, rather than trying to do it at the community level, which I think is not going to be handled well.
Did you see what the state wants to do?
Yeah, exactly.
that they want to charge me $500 for overwatering. I'm
Well-
afraid to ask. I don't think they have anything in the mind about rebate or positive.
Well, maybe if there's enough pressure, enough people ask that question, maybe something will get done. I think that's happening here, so maybe
Yeah.
we can do it at the state level.
Thank you.
Bill Barkman, 16 Castlewood. It seems to me that what you have here is a legal question. And the legal question for Ms. Henderson is, if you're on a meter, can you be charged differently than a person who is not on a meter? And until you answer that question, you really can't talk in detail about this because you don't know what your legal ramifications are. Are you going to have a lawsuit if the unmetered people see that the metered people are getting a special deal? Because really you have you, as you've already admitted, you have no way of monitoring usage in the water system. So maybe you are already treating the metered customers differently, but that's the first question you've got to answer. What can you legally do? And then start your action plan from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I can say right now is that I am definitely aware that the city engaged a firm to conduct the rate studies using the standards of care for the industry for creation of a rate schedule for water rates. Those are professionals that practice on a national level, and so the rates that are charged to the citizens are supported by valid rate studies. They were adopted by the city council. And in terms of what to do in the future, and if things will change when everybody is metered, I would have to leave that to those who specialize in preparing the rate studies that provide the legal and sufficient justification for what the city is charging. I can tell you that those studies that our current rate structure are based on were reviewed, like I said, and supported by the council at the time that the rates were adopted. But they are reviewed on whenever the schedule comes back up. And I think it's a 5-year plan, if I'm not mistaken. So they'll be reviewed again to make sure that they are accurate and that the rates we're charging are sufficient. And the rates we're charging, just so you know, are nothing more than what it costs to provide the service.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Oops, I'm sorry, Judy.
Judy Bowling. Now, I have hybrid Bermuda. I'm paying the same amount plus the little increase that I got for water, and my lawn is dying. I'm pissed. I don't think I should have to pay as much money if I'm going to have to let my yard die. I have complained at this podium so many times about the abuse that has gone on in the neighborhood there where I live. Nothing has ever been done. It's been abused for years. It continues to be. They're paying the same amount. So something needs to be done, whether we have to have a, sworn little person that goes around checking the water. But I don't think it's fair that we follow what you're saying about water only on certain days, and our yards are dying, and people are abusing. I think I should get a discount for being a good person about it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item number 12, councilman comments and requests for future agenda items, and we will start with Councilman Berkman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two items. Earlier this evening, there was discussion on the lease agreement with the solar, and basically we had a special meeting which I was unable to attend because I was on duty, and at that time the council voted to address this on July 28th. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the country on July 28th, and I think this is a very important issue that the entire council should address. And I just wanted to ask our city attorney, because this was voted on prior, is there any process we need to take to get this moved to August 11th so we can have a full council?
You can make a motion to have the item put on the August 11th agenda and removed from the July 28th agenda.
So that could be done in the form of a motion.
It can be done in the form of a motion, and it can be done right now because this is the time for requests for future agenda items to be
Okay.
presented by the council.
Okay, although I do have one other issue. At this time, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we hold the solar issue and the Casey lease until August 11th.
August 11th, okay. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
A second by Mooneyham. Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I was going to ask the city manager if that passes, if he could get hold of Connor G, because of the letter, and I believe everyone on the council got that, stating that with the expansion, it drops half a cent, I believe. Can you check to make sure that they're well aware of it, so that way if there's a timeline, I don't know when you leave, Mr. Bergman, or when you come back, but if there was a specific timeline, so that way when you get back, we could get on it as soon as possible.
I will.
If that's...
Sure.
We have any other questions? We have a motion on the floor. A second. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for the city manager. When you do make contact with Conergy, any future communications they have for us, could you make sure that we get them in a period of time prior to the meeting so we have adequate time for review?
Yes.
This is dated the 14th, which, oh yeah, it's today.
We just got it about an hour ago.
Point taken, but at least when we get our packets, I would like to have it included for future reference. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Call for the question.
Bergman,
Yes.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Fall,
Yes.
motion carries.
Mr. Bergman, Councilman
Yeah,
Bergman.
one other item. I would like to ask for an agenda item for the August 11th meeting, because I won't be here to make it next time. I'd like to discuss the possibility of combining the existing commissions into one super commission, if you will. I feel there's a lot of items that go from commission to commission that takes time and I think is wasteful, as well as the amount of staff time it takes in 3 different commissions. We could save a lot of staff time and money by just utilizing one commission. I think it'd be worthwhile in discussing and bringing up for possible action. So if we could have that on the August 11th meeting as well, I'd appreciate it. And with that, that's all. Thank you.
And that would be the combining of the Traffic Commission,
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec,
And Planning.
and Planning. Those are our 3 standing commissions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that will be, your request is to add that to the August 11th agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on to Councilman Jeff Rivero.
Thank you. I was going to remind everybody of the town hall meeting July 17th at the community center at 6 p.m. We'll be going over the Melrose quickly to let people know that the Melrose district is online, the payments, everything is fine, good to go, and that if everything continues the same, that it should be paid, it will be paid off. The last payment people will make is in April, and it will come to an end in August.
That's April 2015, sir. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just wanted to
Hopefully
be,
that's the next April.
okay. Just wanted to be sure.
All right, I was also going to ask if we can put an agenda item on for our next meeting and have Mr. Terpstra take a look at seeing the possibility of, with the Melrose district, I know people are worried about the city trying to increase it or to extend it, and even though we have let people know that the numbers are good, I'd like to have a ordinance or whatever legally is possible to communicate with people, send them a letter, letting them know that if the Melrose comes back to the city council for an extension or an increase, that they will get a letter 24 days before that meeting happens, and then again 7 days before that meeting happens. So that way everybody in the Melrose district has plenty of time to form what they need to form to fight the increase or extension. I don't see the numbers that would ever happen, but I think that this would safeguard and let people know that we will communicate with you twice before that would ever come to the council.
So,
If we could have an ordinance, and I don't, if that's the correct.
so you're asking that the Melrose, basically you're asking that there be no more Melrose districts in the city of Atwater?
Oh, no, I'd love to hear that. What I was hoping for is that if the Melrose district item comes back to the city council, that citizens that live in the Melrose district will get a letter or information, like what we send out now, a postcard, 24 days ahead, and then also 7 days ahead. So that way everybody is communicated with 2 meetings. So that way these people can feel safe and secure that the council will not try to raise it or extend it, but they will have plenty of notification that if it happens.
Mr. Councilman Jeff Rivero, on the Melrose districts, normally there's no one that lives on the property when they form a Melrose district. It's part of the formation and for the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks.
I think that's
so
something
that's once they get it in, like we have in ours, no one has ever had a Melrose district go as long as we've gone. But that's because of wonderful Atwater. But I think that most of the people in a Melrose district that you're talking about, they're normally not there until after the homes are sold and after they get moved in, and then people don't tell them that they're in a Melrose district, and a few other minor items. I can see where you're coming, but the problem is but I think let's just refer that to Mr. Terpstra and let him review it and kind of come back with some direction on that. But
May I ask a
yes.
question?
Talking about
Just
1-90, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to clarify. Are you only talking about Melrose 1-90? Okay, thank you. We will look into what would need to take place in order to have notice given for potential increases or extensions. And it wouldn't be an ordinance, it would be a resolution that would be sufficient.
Okay, I think that was.
And like I said, I don't believe this council will ever try to extend it or increase it, but this would give people the assurance that they would have to be notified if it did. The other thing I was going to ask to give direction for is a letter for the AT&T employees. If the council would support sending a letter with all of our names on it, saying that we would like AT&T and express that we, in any way, if they could keep the call center here open, that the city of Atwater would appreciate it.
That is really, really important that we support that. I thank you, Councilman Jeff Rivero, because that's AT&T. That's 397 employees. You saw 2 of them here tonight, and that's a lot of people. Oh, she's still here. Oh, they're still here. Good. And, we have to do everything we can to help these people. And, because when they move, it's like the base moving. Just about the same. That's a lot of employees to lose, along with Mi Pueblo and their 91. So, when I got that thing from the mail and those 397 employees had names to them, and now we know they're actually in existence, we've got to do everything we can to, it's a real, and it should be and I think you ladies have been introduced to my friend Mr. DeSetti to the right of you, and to Mr. McDaniel to the front of you. Those are 2 very important people who are interested in that also. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Jeff Rivero.
Yes.
And Mayor, are you done?
No, I was going
I'm
to
sorry.
also inform everybody that the Aviators play this Friday at 7 p.m. The Junior Giants will meet and greet with the players at 6 p.m. It's been there 3 years. It's a great activity for the kids to go down. They throw them, take them out to their positions, do a whole bunch of different things with the kids. Aviators are basically college kids that come together and play during the summer. They're from all over the place. Last year I was able to meet some of them from Washington. We had some Japanese players. So it's a real good exposure for the city of Atwater. Next thing, I just wanted to say I was able to make the Yosemite Grant June 30th celebration. I've been to Yosemite probably 60 to 100 times, and that was the best time I've ever had. I was able to take my kids. They had a special film showing about how Abraham Lincoln signed in to make sure that the Yosemite Grant would happen, how the trees were getting wiped out, how the sheep farmers were tearing up the valley, and thank God we had Abraham Lincoln and also Teddy Roosevelt spent a few days there and pushed for preserving that beautiful park for us to be able to go and visit. So that was also got a couple stamps from the Yosemite post office with their special stamp on June 30th with some mail, and kids thought that was great too. And last thing, I have a kid on my team, on the Junior Giants team, that needs a kidney transplant. So I'd like everyone to ask to keep him in your prayers. I don't want to give out his name because minor confidentiality, but things are not looking excellent for him, but I know they're going to get better, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our prayers are with him. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask the city manager if he could give some form of direction to our code enforcement officer. There's quite a few political signs quite recently that were up with absolutely no regard for our sign ordinances, just kind of haphazardly everywhere, and it's shows kind of a blatant disregard for our regulations here. So if you can have some enforcement of that, I think it'll set the tone for the coming election as well. Also, I'd like an agenda item for the 11th to discuss potential, we've had 4 verbal reports this evening, 3 of which are regular reports. I would like for this council to debate the possibility of just having those reports within the council packet, and obviously having the person responsible for giving that report present should there be any questions, but to have the verbal report every other council meeting, I'd like to discuss that and see what the council has to say with that. I think we could speed up the council meeting as well. I think this probably should have been an hour meeting and now it's 2, so thank you.
Those are the verbal reports from the different department heads, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Okay. My number 1 item is I'm here to make a correction for the Channel 26 statement in regards to our city manager. According to Channel 26, our city manager receives $254,000. Yes. And that city manager only is a city manager. He's not also the police chief. This $254,000 happens to be the previous city manager, not the current one. And this young man, also our city manager, receives $140,000 with benefits, and he also is the police chief. And so that is 2 different department heads combined with 1 salary of $140,000. Now that's the best bargain, and we're just blessed that this young man to the right of me is willing to do that. So if you Don't say that. So if you see anybody, say any, and it wouldn't hurt to give Channel 26 a call and tell them that they kind of spoke. Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I just wanted to say that even though you're not getting paid that much, you're worth that much.
Yes. Comment to that. Yeah, show them the money. I just want to thank the 4th of July committee for their outstanding job this year. It was a wonderful 4th of July, and we're so thankful to have the McDaniels and all of the wonderful on all of their committees. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Shut off before now. Wasn't chilly.